Hello, everyone that is here. Welcome. Okay, I'm ready to get started when you are. All right, we've got everyone. I think we've got us all. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and not make this any more awkward than it has to be. So I'm going to put myself down here in the corner and we're going to get started with the presentation. Okay, so I'm here. Yep. Okay, so I'm here. So welcome to the Project Management Masterclass. My name is Dayadiatu and I will be your host today. I'm going to be showing you how to define and manage projects or your next endeavor, whichever one it may be. So in this class, you're going to learn how to manage projects with a small or like a remote team, or even if you're a solo team, if you're just a party of one, it's totally fine. I'm going to show you how to do it well. I'm going to share some budget-friendly tools that will help make your life a little bit easier. And I'm also going to show you how to manage your time and keep yourself or your team really productive. And then we're also going to talk about some projects that you can be working on now by yourself or with your team while we're in quarantine. No pun intended. So let's go ahead and get started. But first things first, Harpo, who this woman? It's me. I'm Dayo Ariatu. I am a certified Scrum Master and the founder of Grind Groups. So Grind Groups is an online accountability group that uses Scrum project management methodology to help entrepreneurs and creatives get their projects done. So I basically help you do all of the things that you've been too lazy to do, too scared to do, too overwhelmed to do. That's what we do in Grind Groups. So I am serious about projects, serious about details, and I kind of know what I'm talking about. So that's why today I am talking to you. Yes, you. I don't care if you're a solopreneur, if you're a team member, or if you're a small business owner. I kind of created this class specifically for those who want to start a new endeavor, but maybe you don't know where to start. Or maybe you've been working on a project forever and there's been no end in sight. It just keeps going and going. Or for people who are already in the middle of a project and they just want to do a better job. They know that they're failing in some way or could use a little bit of improvement. So I'm going to help you do that. Maybe it's for people who are a little bit overwhelmed with all the details and they need to figure out how to actually make progress on their projects. Or if you joined because you're nosy and you just wanted to see what I was going to talk about, it's okay. I don't mind. Either way, if you're in any of these groups, you're going to learn today because I got tea, I got gems, I got jewels. So let's go ahead and get started. So I want to get kind of the obvious out of the way. What is a project? So a project is an individual or collaborative endeavor that is carefully planned and designed to achieve a particular aim. So it's not your regular day-to-day stuff. It's not like your regular operation stuff. This is kind of a new one-off event. So that's kind of the first mistake that people make is they make kind of the weekly calls they do with their clients part of a project. Or they make the inventory that they do part of a project. That's not a project. It's supposed to have a beginning and it's supposed to have an end. So when you embark on a project, your goal is to get it done on time and within budget. But the sad truth is that most projects don't get done on time or within budget. There's actually a study that was done by the leading project management association. It's called the Project Management Institute. So they did this research study where they interviewed thousands and thousands of people who've ever managed a project across the world. And what they found is that only 39% of the time were the projects completed on time, only 44% of the time were they completed in budget, and only 50% of the time were they completed in scope. So that means we said we were going to do A, then we ended up doing A, B, C, D. So what does this mean? It means that over half of the projects that we embark on, we fail. They fail to be completed. They're not even done on time. They're not done in budget. They're not even done. You know what I mean? But that will not be your portion. I promise you, IJN. So stick with me till the end and the tea on how you can make sure that you always reach the finish line. So let's start with our first step. So the first step when you're starting a project is to make sure you very clearly define it. And what does that mean? It means that everyone on your team knows exactly what the goal is. So let's say you have a business where you do the sound and the lighting for events, maybe weddings or corporate parties or big fancy events. Like, this is your business. So if you want to create a website that showcases your services, you know, that's your project. Your project is your website. You're going to have a designer, a programmer. You're going to have your assistant. You want to make sure everyone knows that you want a website that showcases your services. You don't want your programmer to come on and talk about adding, oh, let's add a forum so people can talk about lighting. Or you don't want your assistant to start writing blogs and stuff when it's not, the goal to have SEO on your website. You don't want people adding things on to your project, or like maybe the designer says, oh, let's put a shop here so that people can purchase product as well. Nuh-uh. That is called scope creep, and you want to avoid that at all costs. So scope creep is when the project starts to kind of extend beyond what you originally agreed on. It costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time, and you can avoid this by being very clear about what your project is, what are the boundaries of what you're planning to do, and make sure everyone knows. Like, yes, I know you have a good idea and all, but maybe save it for the next project. Right now, we're just making a basic website that showcases your services. So make sure it's strongly defined by everyone on your team. So once you have your project all figured out, what you're going to need to do is to make a plan. So if you're creating a website for your event sound business, you might need some pictures. Maybe you'll need someone to write some content for the website. You'll need someone to design the website, someone to create the website. Don't just jump right in like all these Instagram quotes tell you to do, like just jump right in, just start, blah, blah. No, make a plan, create steps, create milestones, and from these milestones, break it down to even simpler tasks. So I kind of illustrated this for you. So once you have your big project, your plan is going to consist of different steps, and then those steps are going to be broken down into even smaller steps so that you can get a really good picture about how much this is going to cost you, how much time it's going to take, and what actually needs to get done. So if I want to make this website for my sound business, I'm going to need to build a team. So that means you don't want to just write build a team on your to-do list. You want to write create the job description, write the ad, post the ad, interview, hire. You're going to want to write the content. The writing the content is your milestone. So you're going to want to put all of the types of content that you're going to have to write. The bio, the homepage, sitting down and figuring out your services, things like that. Another milestone might be to gather all of your images. So you might, if you want professional images, you might need to hire a photographer, schedule hair and makeup, schedule the studio. And then other things like creating your launch plan. Maybe you don't already have an email client, so you want to sign up for MailChimp. You want to write all the emails that are going to go in the launch sequence. Maybe you're going to unveil your website on social media, so you want to create a plan for that and writing the post, things like that. So that's how you should be planning your project. So create your milestones so that you can break them down into smaller tasks. So it's only after you know exactly what you're going to do that you start to assemble your team. So look at the skills that you have, look at the skills that you need, and when I say the skills you have, look at your team. What can people do? What can you do? And once you figure out what you can't do, then that's when you might want to look at outsourcing some of the services. So when you're creating your team, call your photographer cousin to help you take your next professional photo. Maybe you'll commit to writing all of the content. Maybe you'll find a designer or the programmer on an outsourced website. So here are some of the websites that I know of to find outsourced workers. I use Fiverr and Upwork a lot. Elance just became Upwork. But if you need a designer and 99 Designs, Fiverr, Upwork, or freelancer.com, things like that. So these are some resources that you can use to kind of fill the skill gaps that you might have. But one more thing on this, make sure you use your network. So if you are a part of a co-working space, there are a lot of talented people that will likely be in your co-working space. And I always recommend working in person versus working virtually a lot of times if you have the opportunity, especially when it is a creative endeavor. You want to be able to meet with people and so that they can understand your emotions as you're explaining what you like, what you don't like, your needs, things like that. So if you're in a co-working space like Equal Space, make sure that you reach out to your network and kind of let that money rotate in your community as opposed to throwing it to India or the Ukraine or something like that. So be mindful of those resources that you have right there around you. So now that you've got your team, it's time to execute. Yes, I know you have a to-do list of stuff. I have a to-do list of stuff too. Matter of fact, I have Post-its all around here. But all the Post-its and all the to-do lists in the world are not going to help you actually do something. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give you some tips on how to move from the planning stage to actually the execution stage where you're getting things done. So the first thing I would say is to organize your milestones by kind of date and time. Think about what needs to be done first. Think about what can be done at the same time, things like that, so that you kind of have an order in terms of which steps to go. And then you're going to want to think about so here's an example. So I have to find the project, build a team. Maybe you can write the content and choose the site design at the same time, things like that. So make kind of a calendar of your project. So once you have your calendar, think about what tools you're going to use to organize your project. So I love to use Trello and Asana. So the great thing about Trello and Asana is that it's free. Haha. And then also that it follows something called the Agile framework. So the Agile framework follows this milestones and tasks setup that I was talking about. So it's like you work on one thing at a time and you try to get to the finish line on writing all of the content before you start to mix in other things. So I like that it's really easy to follow this Agile framework when you're using Trello and Asana. And it allows you to break down your project into these tasks. And another thing that you want to think about is if you're working with a lot of people, you're going to have emails out the wazoo. Like your emails are just going to be, redesign this, look at this, consider this. The great thing about using a tool is that all of the communication is in one place. So if it's all in one place, everyone can see what everyone is doing. So there won't be that many questions, that many, CC so-and-so on this and missing emails. When Gmail has that thread, it can be really annoying. And so it's really good to choose a software that keeps everything inside of the platform. And these platforms are really good for remote work. They're very flexible in case you don't like my Agile framework. Although if you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. And you're going to want a software that also connects to other software. So this connects to Google Drive. So you can just upload your documents or content right there on the platform and everything is visible there. So it's a really awesome tool. There are some other ones that you can consider. Basecamp, I like Basecamp a lot because it has a client-facing feature where it's like your client can be in there and that you can kind of pick what they can see so that they can watch the process of the project. And this is great if you're in the services business. Evernote is great, super flexible, super robust. Slack is not necessarily a project management tool, but if you're working with a remote team, it's a really good way to communicate with your team. Wrike is good as well, and then make sure you have Google Drives. It's great to get everything on one kind of cloud network, and I love Google Drive for that. That's a great tool. So now if you want to work and you want to make sure that you are executing and you're not just being lazy, you want to figure out how to stay productive. So what I always do is I schedule time to work. So don't let the day get away from you. That's why with grind groups, we schedule an hour to 4 hours depending on the grind group schedule. So it's like if we wake up from 6 to 7 a.m., we know we are working. We're not answering emails. We're not doing anything else. So make sure you schedule a big chunk, 2 to 3 hours, where you're actually doing the work that's on your to-do list. And this is out, turn your phone off silent, turn off the notifications on your computer, things like that. That's what you're going to want to do. Then you're going to want to make sure that you build in accountability. So if you're the type of person, if you're the type of person that's like me, I remember when I was in college, I used to brag about how I could do a paper the night before and still get an A. So if you like me and you know that you thrive off of, deadlines, tension, fear, we are not in school anymore. So you might have to build that in to the way that you manage your project. So if you're a solo worker, give yourself deadlines. Make sure, maybe tell the designer, hey, I'm going to have my my list of wants to you by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So make promises to other people. Or if you really are working solo, just get a friend to say, hey, can you ask me about this at 12 p.m. on Wednesday? Give yourself those deadlines and build in accountability for yourself. So that's a good way to keep yourself moving forward. If you have a team, make sure you schedule check-ins. Check-ins are a part of the Scrum methodology. So I use Scrum in grind groups. Scrum is a project management methodology. So what we do with Scrum is every time we meet, before we meet, we just check in like, hey, what did you do yesterday and what do you plan on doing today? So if you're working with a team, you don't have to do it every day, but maybe have a weekly meeting or something like that. If you have a designer, make sure you have a time when it's scheduled to kind of communicate like, hey, what's going on? What do you got? How much time you need? Are you running into any trouble? Things like that. Another thing about working as a team, a lot of times if we're remote or, it kind of gets hard to figure out everyone's schedule. Some people work great during the daytime. Some people work great during the evening. And when you send an email in the morning, you might not get an answer until like 9 p.m. And it can be really hard to move forward on a project with like such a large gap in work time. So try and find a common time for everyone to work together. So I know when I was managing out a team in India, so I would make sure that I was working from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. so that in case I needed to chat with the overseas team, I can just send them a message and I knew that they would be on. So consider implementing that into your project management style as you start to work. Another thing that has been scientifically proven to help you be productive is to make sure that you're organized. So keep your milestones organized, keep your tasks organized. It's not enough to just do it the first time before you start the project. Keep them organized as you go. And then also keep your space organized. So it's not a Burger King wrapper next to your mouse is not going to help you get things done. If you feel like you're distracted by cleaning and things like that, take your 30 minutes or take an hour before you start to work and just clean your space. It helps to clear your mind, and so that you can focus on the work that you have to do. And last but not least, know yourself, know your rhythms, know who you are inside. I know for me, I can't listen to music with words when I'm working, but maybe you can, and maybe that helps you to focus. Maybe you're a morning person. You work best early in the morning and you lose steam in the evening. Or maybe you're a night owl and you work best in the evening. So know your rhythms so that you can be as productive as possible and create the environment for you to be able to do that. All right, now have planned. You got your team, you have executed, you want to make a point to review. So review what went wrong, what went well, how did you do, maybe any issues that you had in communication. And one of the reasons that this is good is that you can create a template for yourself for the next project that's going on, and you can continuously improve. So schedule in maybe a 30-minute call with your team or with yourself, like, yo, how did this website review go? Did I make the schedule too short? Did tasks take longer than I assumed they would? You're going to want to make sure that you review things like that. So take some time out to review. So just a quick reminder, anyone can create a project by throwing more people and money at it. Your goal is to complete the project on time and on budget, especially during this. You want to make sure that you are excelling at everything that you do, because this is really our time to kind of stand out, and to rise to the top. So this is the time to do things well and to do things right. So I put together a list of a couple things that you could consider doing while you're on quarantine. It could be for yourself or a project. If you were considering a company rebrand, now's a good time to rebrand. If you can't afford to pay someone to rebrand, buy a $10 Udemy course, learn about rebranding, learn about design, and you can do your rebrand by yourself. Also, build a social media presence if you don't have one, or improve your social media presence. You can also find new ways to focus on your existing customers. Is there a resource or a service that you've always wanted to add but you haven't had the time to create it? Now's the time. Make sure that you're building on your relationships. We don't know what's going to happen in the economy. Reach out to people. Everyone's home. Everyone would love to hear from you. So make sure that you reach out, so you can cultivate and build on the relationships and the business relationships in your life. And then consider new ways to deliver your service. I've seen a lot of great people, like I've seen gyms, that are now, instead of having in-person classes, they're doing virtual classes. So consider new ways that you can deliver your same service or your product. Do a newsletter. There's so many random things, but I suggest you ask your team, ask your customers, what do they want? Because now is the time where, our ears are open to listen. And excuse my typo. Okay, so if you need help getting stuff done, again, I do grind groups. Sorry, fellas, it's for ladies only right now. So I use Scrum project management methodology to help you make project progress on your goals and projects. And I am a certified Scrum Master. So let's just recap. How to project manage like a pro. Define your project. Make a plan with milestones and tasks. Create your team. Execute. Figure out ways to stay productive. And I shared some with you. And then make sure that you review. Schedule out time to review. So thank you very much, guys. Again, my name is Dio. We project manage like a pro. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at contact@grindgroups.com, or you can hit me on instagram.com/grindgroups, or visit my site, grindgroups.com. So I'm going to take a second just to see if there are any questions. If there are any questions for me. So let's see. Hello, anyone have any questions? There's a little bit of a delay, so if you're typing, I'm just gonna fill the air a little bit in case you wanted to type and then I didn't see it because of the delay. So I will just keep filling in the time. But I'm curious, are there any projects that you guys are working on? All right, talk a little bit more about what Scrum methodology is. So Scrum project methodology kind of, it was very popular when you're building software. So let's say someone wanted to build Gmail. Oh yeah, let's build Gmail. It's such a big idea. There's so many little things that you have to do. So what Scrum does is that it breaks down your project into like uses, like deliverables. So the first thing might be create the send button. And then you'll work on the send button in something called a sprint. So it'll take 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and everyone that needs to work on the Scrum button, the send button, will work together, and they'll try to get through it as fast as they can. They'll have all of the steps broken down, and then they'll meet regularly to check on the progress. So it really helps to turn your project into check boxes. So it's like, okay, we did the send button. That's our first sprint. Then you take a rest and you review, and then you do your next sprint, which might be, let's make the junk mail, so something like that. All right. So that's a little bit about Scrum. You can learn a little bit more if you just go to scrum.org. That's a pretty good resource to learn a little bit about how Scrum methodology works. Okay, yeah, very similar to Agile. Someone just said Agile, yes. So Scrum methodology is cool like that. All right, we have another question. I want to know how to keep my mostly remote team motivated because we are not all in the office and physically together. I think that that is a great question. So I would say three things. The first thing is to check in. And remember, you're checking in, you're not babysitting. So scheduling regular check-ins takes a lot of your time, but it really helps to keep the morale of the team so that they feel connected. So if you have a regular check-in with each team member once per week, so they kind of have a one-on-one office hour with you, that's a great way to keep them motivated. The second way that I would say is to do that concurrent work hour. So it's like, okay, I know that this person loves to work on Saturday, but every day, 1 hour a day, we all work from 3 to 5 p.m. So when you have that concurrent work time, people feel like they can lean on each other and they feel like they're all working together. So I think that that's another way to keep your team motivated. And the third one is to make sure that they're doing projects that they like, projects that fit in their scope of work, and that you're listening to them. Maybe they're over here mouthing off and you have no idea. So make sure during your check-ins, you're sure to focus on kind of morale, what's going on with them personally, what they're learning on the side, and how you can incorporate that into some of the needs that you have for your own company. Okay, so we have another question. I'm currently an event manager and looking to shift to project management. Any recommendations on how to make that shift? Certifications? Yeah. So there are a lot of certifications. So PMI, the Project Management Institute, is they have a project management certification. What I would say is the first description or a job that you would like that's in project management, and see what the requirements are. So a company like Amazon might want you to be certified in Six Sigma. Another company might want you to be a Scrum master like I am. And another project manager might want you to have a PMI, Project Management Institute certification. Another thing that I would say is to get really savvy on the tools. And you can learn the tools from Udemy or YouTube for free. Those Udemy courses are like $10 and YouTube is free $99. So learn some of the tools that I mentioned. Asana, Microsoft has their project management tool. So you'll find a lot of these on the job description. So once you see the job description, it will mention some of the qualifications that they would prefer. Yes. All right. So I think we're out of questions. Any more? There's a delay, so I'm going to keep filling the time. No? Okay. All right. So it looks like that's all the questions we have. Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed this. If you want a little bit more information about Grind Groups, go to grindgroups.com. If you want to reach out to me, hit me back on contact@grindgroups.com. I would be happy to chat with you. And thank you guys so much for your attention, and good luck. It's quarantine. Stay healthy, stay inside, but stay sane. Take care of yourself. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.